4 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Here's a little tip if you want to do a radio show. Listen to the guys who really can do it well, because you will learn from the guys who are masters at this, how to do this, just by listening to them. And you might even have your opinions changed about some things. You might even realize that some of the things you thought were smart ideas weren't as smart as you thought. But you're smart for realizing that you weren't so smart. You see? You see how this works? It's kind of almost a paradox. Is that the word?
Yes.
We have learned so much from Rod Eccles, and he's on the phone right now. If you've ever listened to the Veterans Radio Network, I believe it is, he's on there, or Veterans Today Network. I had to make a note to myself to remember what it was called. But it's on the Veterans Today Network. He's on a lot of different networks, and he's got a syndicated talk show called The Rod Eccles Show. He's been on our show before. It's always an honor to have him on. He's got a new book out we're going to talk about. He is described as a strong constitutional conservative, which we love. And he's on the phone. Good morning. And I know he was scheduled earlier in the month.
Yes.
And then his father passed away. So we all said some prayers for Rod and his family. And just it's a terrible thing. I went through it. You went through it. Rod Eccles. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Where are you right now? Where do you call from? What's home?
Home is Concord, New Hampshire.
Are you home right now?
Yes, I am.
He's got a great voice, too.
Yes.
How you doing? Your father passed earlier this month?
Yes, he did. It was kind of expected because he was going downhill for quite a while. But when it actually does happen, it still takes you by surprise because you really don't fully expect it.
It is a hard thing, yeah. How old was your dad, may I ask?
75.
75. That's not that old, really. Wow. I have a question for you. We're going to get on topic in a second, but I just have a question. Have you ever seen the Seinfeld thing called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
No, I have not.
Well, it's a new thing he does on the internet. But anyway, he asks one question of one of his guests. He says, who was more masculine, you or your father? And everybody says their father. I say that too. My father was more of a man than I feel like I am. I hope my son feels like I'm. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. What is your thought on your father there? In that, it's a kind of a dumb question, but
I would have to agree. It's my father, hands down. We all sons of loving fathers always try to emulate that father. So we always look up to that.
Right. To
believe is the ultimate masculine identity, and it's for many of us sons, it's always our father.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to go in a personal direction right there, but I guess we've come to know you a little bit, not only as a guest of this show, but also as fans, because we've listened to you. We get to hear you online. I don't know if any. I actually like the idea that I can listen online, but anyway. Mm-hmm. So you have a new book. It's called, and I don't know how to pronounce it. And I know it's a play on the word Ecclesiastes, the book in the Bible. Robin is the Bible study girl. But I know the Bible. Like, I remember learning about the Bible. I'm not a good student, really. A lot. But the conservative, you're using your name as you're having fun with the word Ecclesiastes.
Right. Well, actually, if you.
You're breaking up.
If you look at many modern Bibles, especially the King James version, you will see that Book of Ecclesiastes is abbreviated, and that's exactly how my last name is spelled.
Oh, okay. So, do I say the title of the book, The Conservative Ecclesiastes?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So just say it the way the way you normally say it. Okay.
Okay.
So, can I ask a Bible question? What is the Book of Ecclesiastes about? What do you learn from that book?
The Book of Ecclesiastes is one of the wisdom books of the Bible. It goes along with the Book of Song of Songs, Song of Solomon. It goes along with the 3 or 4 books that are considered to be the wisdom books of the Bible.
Okay. So tell me what the book is about, the Conservative Ecclesiastes.
It's about it basically, when you read it, you'll see that it's a series of quotes, and these are conservative quotes that I've learned over the years that are very. If you look at them, you would think that they're kind of wise. Some of them might be a little bit cryptic. So under each of the quotes, I also give a short description of what that quote actually means, because a lot of times we'll see, a lot of the memes out there that really we don't fully understand those memes and where people are coming from. So I actually kind of do that. This is they're not memes, I guess, but you could look at them as a bunch of memes, and then they're explained, so people get the full benefit of understanding the logic and the wisdom behind those sayings.
Okay, are you saying memes, like that new term, which means a picture with words on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll see those all the time, but I mean, there are no pictures, there are no memes in this book, but you can look at it that way.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Do you know what I in the intro for you, I said that when you listen to other talk show hosts, you don't have to be a talk show host to listen and learn. But I am one, and I've learned from you. I've learned from Rush. I've learned from Sean. I've learned from those who are liberal, not just the conservatives. But the one thing I think I've often wondered about is there's one message that the conservative talk show hosts teach, I guess is a good word, that I don't think the liberal ones ever get. And I want to ask you about it. And it's this, is that when you give too much, when you are giving people what they think they're entitled to, you're actually hurting them. Okay, because the natural thing to think when you're a younger person, and I guess this is true for me, is, oh my gosh, these poor people, we need to do something. We need to have a tax and give them some money so they can bail themselves out of this mess. Mm-hmm. But I've learned from the guys who were smarter than me about this, that was the wrong thinking, that you're actually hurting them. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who will never be able to provide to himself.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about somebody who's truly handicapped or truly needs help. I'm talking about the person who would be better off being independent than dependent.
Right.
So I hope I've said enough to give you an idea of where I wanted to go with that. Can you talk on that, Rodney?
Well, you hit on something, because let's take it back to childhood. We all have a friend or know somebody from school that was a total spoiled brat. Their parents gave them just about everything they could possibly want or ask for. And the child grew up not to appreciate anything, and oftentimes in their young adult life, they were very spoiled, they were very privileged, they expected everybody to bow down to them. They never had enough. They always thought that they deserved more, so they obviously always wanted more. And they didn't grow up to understand and value anything. It could have even been a car. I mean, I know a kid in school. Parents gave them everything. The kid went out and destroyed one car that they bought him brand new. So then about 2 months later, after they thought they punished him enough, they went out and bought him another car, and he proceeded to destroy that. He didn't care.
Right.
So this is the same thing that liberals do to people, because they sort of turn people into children, and these children become, spoiled brats. So they never have enough, because they think that what they got, they deserve, but they think, well, because I got this, I must deserve more. And they keep wanting more and more and more. And that's not how human beings are designed to live out their life, period.
Yeah, and see, you do it so eloquently. See, so we'll talk about this a lot of times there'll be a program or something, and we'll express our opposition to it, and we'll say, well, here's the problem we have with this, and we'll kind of in an awkward way say what you just said eloquently. Okay, and then somebody will call up and say, well, I thought you were a Christian. Isn't that the Christian thing to be given to these people? Wouldn't that be the Christian thing to do? And my reply is always, well, as a Christian, I should make a decision to go do that if I think I should do that. I don't think the government should say, I'm taking it from you, and I'm going to give it to them, whether you like it or not. And P.S., I'm going to keep some of it for myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, when people always, when they turn to the Bible and say, well, you're a Christian or you have Judeo-Christian ethics, aren't you supposed to, always give? And I say there's two problems with your thought process. One, the first problem is Jesus himself is quoted as saying, if you do not work, neither shall you eat, meaning that if you are fully capable of working and earning your own way, then you do not deserve to be given anything. Heaven is not for the lazy, so you have to get up and work. And two, the whole point of the poor, Jesus 90% of the time was not talking about the financially poor. He was talking about the poor in spirit, those who were lacking God and Jesus' love. So they try to use all this stuff against, people who claim to be Christian, that, well, you're supposed to be giving, you're supposed to be a Christian. Well, actually, the Christian should not be giving to people who are standing on a street corner with a sign saying, please give me money. He should not be giving to the welfare recipient who's fully capable of getting out there and getting a job and working for his food and his shelter and his clothing. And we should be out there preaching to the poor in spirit, because let's face it, our country is sliding downhill morally. So there are a lot of people who are poor in spirit and poor in the love of God and Jesus. That's what Jesus was talking about. And that's what a lot of people who try to twist the meaning of the Bible, try to put on all the conservatives, well, you guys are uncaring. Actually, there is something called passionate conservatism, and we are far more compassionate and caring than the liberals are.
Rodney Eccles is our guest. If you are a fan of him, then you're already listening to him on the Rod Eccles Show. He's a syndicated radio talk show host. He's got a new book called The Conservative Ecclesiastes. Now I know how to pronounce it. His name is part of the word Ecclesiastes, and now I get it. So we'll take a little break and be right back. We can tackle some of the real common, and I avoid the whole abortion topic, but I have strong opinions about abortion. So we'll touch on that, especially since Planned Parenthood is out there. Maybe some Donald Trump questions, etc.
Yeah.
So and of course, what's in the book. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Today, tomorrow, and Sunday, it looks pretty much the same. Sunshine will mix with some clouds. We'll have a thunderstorm that'll spread from near the coast early in the day to further inland by the afternoon. Highs will range from 90 to 93, and it looks like any thunder shower will be around in the evening hours. It'll dissipate and turn out partly cloudy with lows in the mid to upper 70s. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
There may be another reason our pets are getting fat, because no matter how much food we give our pets, they still control how much they consume, right? Enjoy some guacamole. Experts say avocado has healthy, unsaturated fat, which can lower your bad cholesterol. Women say they want a man who watches football but also loves shopping and who's not afraid to cry during movies. It would seem that women have high expectations when it comes to the perfect man.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
There's a car accident in this country every 5 seconds. That's why Allstate thinks it's time for an entirely different kind of car insurance, with features like accident forgiveness and a safe driving bonus. It's called Your Choice Auto, and it's only from Allstate. Are you in good hands?
You deserve better. Sign up for Your Choice Auto from Allstate. Call the McDonald Agency today at 622-2333.
Features are optional and subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Insurance, Northbrook, Illinois.
All right, 11 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Rod Eccles is on the phone, and we're talking about politics. We're talking about philosophy, and we're talking about what we hold strongly in belief in. The book he has written is called The Conservative Ecclesiastes. The subtitle is interesting: Logic and Wisdom from the Coolest, Most Politically Incorrect Conservative Black Man on the Planet. Rodney, how important is it for people to understand that you're a black man? Why is that important?
I don't like to always bring race into the subject, but a lot of other people do, especially the left. So, and it's always believed that, blacks are supposed to be on the Democratic side, always vote Democrat, always be, liberal, that type of thing. So it's kind of a shock sometimes, even to the right, when they find somebody who is not white, who has, darker skin tone, that espouses strong constitutional conservative beliefs. So, because a lot of times, believe it or not, I guess to a lot of people, I do not sound black. So it's kind of a shock to them when they actually see it.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. But if we could remove race from our I guess it'll take another 200 years before we finally don't do that anymore, but we do it, and it is part of who we are. But I think when you hear the truth, and hey, if I was to try to put myself on, if there was a way to measure whether you're conservative or liberal, I bet you the needle that moves to the left or to the right has moved as I got older. I bet it moved more to the right as I got older. I bet it was more to the left when I was younger. It just seems like I was. And not because I've changed my thoughts about anything, but because I understand that, if I want to be a benevolent person, when I was younger, I thought the way to be a benevolent person was to just give and let people who want to take, give you know what I mean? I would believe that. And now I still want to be benevolent, but I understand that there's a conservative way to be benevolent, which is actually more beneficial. And it's guys like you who help me understand that. And I don't think race matters. I think you get it one way or another. If I want you to be a strong person, and you're a child and I'm trying to raise you to become a strong person, I don't think race is going to... It might matter if you're not going to be able to get a job because of your race. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that wouldn't hire you because of your race and wouldn't hire me because of my race, I'm guessing. It goes both ways.
It does.
But I mean, I think 80% maybe of us are probably beyond that, I guess. I hope.
You know, in this country today, yeah, sure, we have a very checkered and dark, racial past in our history. And most countries do, to some form or extent or another. And it's just the way that humankind has ventured throughout its history, its time frame on this planet. However, now that we're here in the 21st century, there are some things that have changed, notably so, and there have been huge leaps in racial relations between people in this country. Now, we have to understand one thing. The United States is the world's melting pot. Where else on the planet do you find all these different types of races and ethnic backgrounds living together, peacefully and in harmony? No place else on earth.
That's right.
Other places, and these people are literally killing each other. We're not doing that here. We're living peacefully together. We're enjoying everybody else's ethnic backgrounds. I mean, we can go to Koreatown and have, Korean food and Chinatown have Chinese food. Then we can go over to, even eat some Middle Eastern food in Little Arabia and places like, we have all these wonderful ethnic diversity backgrounds in little pockets of everywhere in the country. But at the same time, when you start moving out into the cities proper and into the suburbs, everybody commingles. I mean, you could be a white guy living next door to an Indian guy from India, who's living next door to a black guy, who's living next door to a Latino, who's living next door to a Russian, who's living next door to,
It's my neighborhood. You're talking about my neighborhood, yeah. Well, and that's true. And here's the interesting part about what you just said. In order to identify ethnicities, it's food and it's music. It's not politics. Mm-hmm. Ethnicities is not. I love the ethnic differences when it comes to food and music and art, because it really. I would hate to see that become a soup. So it's all one. I like the idea that I can go to a ethnic restaurant and have a certain type of food. But I don't think it should matter when I come to hiring somebody for his expertise in fixing computers or working on cars or governing the country.
No, and we can see that there are a number of different ethnic background people that are in government at all levels nowadays. So it isn't. And look, I find it interesting that the left is out there still saying that we are an overtly and overly racist nation when we've elected and reelected a black president. We have cabinet members of different races, and this is not and Obama's not the first one to have, ethnic diversity in his cabinet. Bill Clinton did to a degree, and George Bush to a huge degree had ethnic diversity in his cabinet. And by the way, George Bush, for those of you who don't know, was a Republican. Not a Democrat.
That's funny.
Sometimes we feel this pressure. We feel bad because the bad guys are being brought to the forefront, and the good deeds from the good people are being left behind. And that's sometimes why I can feel that division also, and it's not true.
Yeah, they're always the lamestream media. I like to call them the lamestream media because they are very lame of late. They like to bring forth all the negative stuff, the stuff that's going to be shocking to regular America. And the stuff that they bring to light, that is shocking. But what they do is they skew people's beliefs of what's going on around them to such a degree that your neighbor probably thinks, well, yeah, there's blacks are just in terrible condition. They're all over the place. They're just running around rampant and they're acting like, thugs and thieves and everything else. And that's not true of the majority of blacks. And just like the liberals are saying, well, the economy's supposed to be booming, but geez, your neighbor is doing terrible. You got to help your neighbor. So you're sitting there thinking your next door neighbor on either side of you is starving to death because that's what the lamestream media is telling you. And again, that's not true.
All right, another topic, if we could squeeze it in real quickly, the abortion topic. Let me tell you what we hear. This is what we hear. We have people who criticize Robin and I. They say, I thought you were Christian, and Christians believe in religion, not in science. And so therefore, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so they'll say a baby isn't a baby until it starts breathing after it's born, according to the Bible. So they'll use the Bible, the very thing that we profess. And I said, well, wait a minute, I thought you were all about science. Doesn't science say the baby starts the day that sperm meets the egg?
Exactly.
So I don't understand that whole thinking.
You know, they will twist anything for their own twisted beliefs and gain. And let's face it, the Bible does not say that you're a human being once you start breathing. No, the Bible says that the Lord knit me in my mother's womb. So that means that He put your spirit into that body at the moment of conception. However, if you want to look at science, and pretty much the Bible, if you read the Old Testament especially, it was far ahead of modern science because it told us about how to handle death, how to avoid disease and that type of thing, long before science said, hey, that's right, we shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff in order to avoid disease and stay healthy. However, when we get to science, I always tell people who are for abortion, okay, you know what? I am going to compromise with you. Now, I fully believe that life begins at conception, but I'm going to be willing to compromise with you, and this is where I catch them all the time. Now, science tells us that you're dead, you're not coming back, there's no way to bring you back if you're brain dead. In other words, there is no more brain activity. Is that correct? Do you believe that? And they will always say yes. Well, then brain activity means you're alive then, correct? They will always say yes. Well, then how about we say, if that's the end of your life when there's no brain activity, how about the beginning of your life starts when there is brain activity in the womb? So, well, that might,
and when is that?
So that happens towards the end of the first trimester.
Ah, okay. Well, that is a good argument. I like that one. Yeah. And the heartbeat, according to the billboards in town, 18 weeks or something? 18 weeks?
Uh-huh.
That's that argument. They don't go for, well, no, we can't do that. We can't say that. Why not? You just said that we're dead when there's no brain activity, so that must mean we must be alive. We must begin life when there's brain activity.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to that point, if you are.
I want to get the book. The book is called The Conservative Ecclesiastes. It is written by Rodney S Eccles. Always love having you on, Rodney. There's just never enough time. The thing to do, though, is to tune into his show. He is on so many different places. I guess Google him. Do you have a website? Does that help?
I do, rodeccles.net.
Okay, and Rod's last name is spelled ECCLES.net, so rodeccles.net. Robin already has that website on our website. Go to WOCA.com, look at the guest list. You'll see Rod's information. And I'm so glad you came back to be with us again, Rod. Thank you for doing what you do. You're influencing a lot of people in a very good way, and people who are ready and willing and smart enough to know that they have something to learn will learn from you. And you've got such a way with words. I mean, you just gave us a way to argue with our listeners.
Yes.
Rodney, thank you so much. That was great.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. 2 women are set to make history this morning when they become the first female Army Ranger.
The Army says the women were held to the same standards as their male counterparts during rugged training in woods, mountains, and swamps.